district. Today we're going to be talking about info we just got from the state regarding the budget for school districts, and I've asked a couple of my colleagues to join me today, so welcome Kent Bergum.
Thank you.
Kent's from our high school, our head principal, and Rick Flaherty. Welcome, Rick.
Thank you.
And Rick is our head principal from our middle school. The last time I was on the program, we were talking about going down to Superior Days and knowing that our governor would release the budget during that week. We do have the preliminary information on what that budget's going to look like and how it might affect our school. And I would like to say it's great news, but the truth is it isn't marvelous news. Now this has not passed. Obviously the governor proposes the budget. It has to go before different committees to make choices before we get the final piece. We're going to share what we know at this time, and then at the end I'll ask what you can do about this process. So, having said that, the first piece is I just want to highlight the funding piece. What the governor has decided to do is to freeze the revenue cap. Now what that means is there will be no new spending for any district. Now, what it might sound like to the community is that, okay, well, you don't have any new money at all, so you'll just have to keep things as they are. That's not accurate. When we get the new system, we have to put it through a formula. What it ends up putting out based on declining enrollment, 3-year averages, and all sorts of other factors, it looks like, to the best of our knowledge, we will be starting off the year in the hole next year, $365,000. Now, $365,000 is a large amount of money to cut from a budget that's already been cut significantly over the past 2 years. Just as a reminder to the community, 2 years ago when the governor released his first budget, he cut funding to every school by $550 per pupil. What that meant for Superior was an approximate $3 million cut. So we've already made incredible, substantial cuts across the board, and to continue to try to do that is really unconscionable, and we need the community to understand what's happening. The second piece, and what we're going to really talk about today, is how we're judged and how we suddenly have become a voucher district, or I should say a possible voucher district. So let me give a few highlights and then ask our principals to comment on the real happenings at our buildings. What it means when you expand the voucher system is there'll be a parent choice whether to attend our public schools or take a voucher, take a certain amount of money, and it looks like it's going to be about $6,500, and go to a private school. It can be a private religious school or other such things. What we believe is that's very unfair to say Superior is failing, and that's why we need to become a voucher school. So let's start first with the high school. And what's happening at our high school, and what your thoughts are about expanding a voucher.
Sure. Maybe just to jump into the voucher, the way I understand it, it really would allow students to go to a private school, either schools that are currently here or ones that will develop. And to me, the biggest issue with that is that voucher schools are not for all students. You can be selective on what students you would let in, and there really are very few of any accountability measures. So the state report card that I'll talk to in just a moment here is a high-stakes testing accountability measure that has been given to us, and voucher schools would not have that. So basically, they wouldn't have to take all students. They could be selected, and there wouldn't be accountability measures in place. So that's a piece for me that is just highly unfair. And I think over time, if that system were to be in place, I don't think it'd be too many years, 2 to 5 years, before public education drastically is eroded.
I would agree. I'm glad you brought up the more specifics about vouchers, because it's not simply a parent choice as it's said to be from our governor. This is about truly the erosion of public education. And if we were all held to the same accountability, if every school had to take every child, regardless of what was happening with that child, and if every school had to take the exact same tests and be judged, it might be different, but that is not what's happening with vouchers. One other thing before you share specifics at our high school. The research we're looking at is the schools that have done this for years. In Milwaukee, they've had a program for 20 years, and a huge research study was done, and it was proven that the kids in that voucher choice program did not score any better. In fact, in some areas scored worse than the public schools down in Milwaukee. So just given that one piece of data, expanding it and putting public dollars into that, just, again, it just doesn't make any sense.
And maybe just to jump into then, so how did Superior end up becoming one of these districts that the governor has recommended become a voucher district? A part of it is the state report card that's coming out of Superior High School. And the way that unfolded for us is that sometime last summer we were informed that the state had applied for and received a waiver to No Child Left Behind, which basically said all students would need to be at the proficient level by, I think, 2014. And there was a huge concern and a realization, and this realization was actually there at the beginning of the legislation, but to get all students, whether you're special education or coming from poverty, just for me it's really, if you look at a student with a disability, a learning disability, according to the scorecard, that student was supposed to be performing at a proficient rate, the same as a student without a disability. Well, we've worked within the No Child Left Behind legislation for the last 10 years, and we have met adequate yearly progress by the measurements that we have been given. An important component of that has been graduation rates. Another important component has been the test scores as measured by the WKCE. Those are probably the biggest indicators for us of school success. And we had been successful. Last summer, when we were told that the state waiver had been approved, we were told to expect a report card, kind of a beginning report card, one that we would use to kind of get an understanding of how we would be graded in future years, that report card would be coming to us in October. So in October, we received a report card, and at that point, the first report card that Superior High School received said that we were meeting expectations. There was time for public debate on that. The statisticians, the people from Department of Public Instruction, others looked at the formulas and they made some adjustments, and then a report card came back saying that we were 0.1% beyond the category of meeting all expectations. And in the biggest area there that we actually had no idea, we were never told this, that would be measured on was absenteeism. And they formulated absenteeism to count for a -5 points for Superior High School. So when I say we missed it by 0.1%, we lost 5 points on basically absenteeism. And as we dug into what does it mean when a student is absent, we all along believed that unexcused absences were something that we had to address, and we've had major efforts in the area of truancy. We send police officers out, we write citations. The city court and our court commissioner have done an excellent job in supporting Superior High School in the truancy charges. What we didn't know was absenteeism was all of the students who are skipping school, absent, unexcused, in addition to any student that's not coming to school because of illness or a parent excuse. So it was a brand new category for us.
Right. It's just, it's been such an interesting piece to try to really understand this, to be open to criticism, if something, right? But at this time, it seems like everything is changing, but we're not given the criteria it's changed on. We find out after the fact. And the more, what I find is insulting is, if that's accurate, that we're in the category meeting a few expectations at 2 of our schools, to now say that it becomes failing is another big leap. Again, you've said it right. We're placing all the ratings on a few days that a test is given, not looking at any of the other pieces that are happening in our buildings.
Yeah. And again, it was basically told to us that it would be a pilot, so that we would have a year or so to understand how we're going to be measured. And then to me, what was most upsetting was to hear this a little over a week ago saying that this report card is the reason that we would be listed as a school that should be open to vouchers, because basically this school district is failing. And I couldn't disagree more. What you said is, we have to look at what we're doing. I think we have to continually get better. But to put that mark on us and say that this school district is failing, it's just not true. And when I look at then our data, on ACT scores, our scores last year for the class of 2012 were higher than any year that I can find on record, and that's going back into the early 80s. So we were above the state in each one of the categories and on the composite scores. So that's telling us the readiness of our student population for college is higher than it's ever been. And to me, that's an important statistic, but absolutely doesn't seem to carry any weight in the growth that we've had, and I think the excellence that we've had in the school district.
Right. I would agree. And it's beyond at our high school, and I'm going to shift to our middle school here, but at our high school, as well as having high ACT scores this past year and in the past, we're offering much more to our kids to make sure they're prepared. Things that other districts aren't doing at this time, from a variety of AP classes to STEM courses to Project Lead the Way. So we have a lot of other things we're trying to do to help make sure our kids are successful, none of which has counted or been looked upon by the state as helpful or appropriate or considered in this report card. All of that is irrelevant, which it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be irrelevant.
Maybe if I could just add one piece on that. The concern is we look at then the budget, the reduction in funding, and you look at the wide variety of options that we offer. Next year on the book 10 advanced placement courses. We have kids leaving Superior High School, graduating, entering college as sophomores. We have a wide variety of classes, this television production class being one, providing a wide array of experiences for kids. If the state really is going to put everything on a single test score in reading and math, we are going to have to take resources away from programs that are really helping all kids and specifically target those on reading for a small part of our population.
And we know without question, when you take all of those extra support mechanisms and simply say it's all about reading, writing, and math, we do not make a well-rounded student, and we do not produce well-rounded citizens, and that's been documented for well over time. Let me shift now to our middle school, because our high school received this rating as meeting few expectations. Talk about the path that's been happening with the middle school as well.
Well, when we received the report card, we take a look at the information, and really we looked at that as a tool to help us grow. And sure, we've got some areas where we can make some improvements. And I think it's been stated very well, Mr. Bergum, when he talked about we're working with all the kids. We're working with the kids with great amounts of needs, the special needs students especially, and the percentage of students who are identified, rightfully so, with a need for extra help is pretty high. And so we work with those students, but yet they're held to that same expectation, and we're marked down because maybe those kids aren't moving as to the point where we can say that they're meeting all the needs. But boy, we're working towards doing that. But I don't know that I have a lot to add as far as some of the difficulties. I think we pointed out what the vouchers do and what this really does for the school. But I think it also the atmosphere and what we have in public schools as far as kids being exposed to all kinds of different opportunities, different types of students, different types of learning is so important. That carries over into the workplace. That's real life. The private schools may offer some good opportunities, but when they can pick and choose, the kids that they may or may not work with, that becomes a challenge. And we don't afford that same ability. We don't want that ability. We want to work with all the kids.
That's right, and that goes back to the idea, if everything was exactly the same, I don't know that we'd even be having this conversation. But it is not the same level of accountability they have currently for private and voucher schools. And I guess that's okay if you're a private school, but once you say we're going to take public money and give it to the private schools, but they don't have to have the same accountability that you have to have, it's just, again, it's illogical. It makes no sense to me at all.
Yeah, I agree with that. I want to point out the fact that some growth that we're seeing. We take the ACT Explorer. That's an 8th grade version of the ACT, and we're seeing the greatest gains for us too. This is just our 2nd year, but I'm just so excited about the performance of our students. We match or exceed all national norms in all 4 of the areas, and I mean, that's great. We give this to all of our students. See, this is a special need. This is every one of our 8th grade students. We had 300 kids take this exam in January, and we're moving them along. And I think that we're demonstrating that. So I'm very pleased.
Right, absolutely. And the middle school has, it's just so ironic to be said by people that we're failing, but yet within the last few years ago, we've received several awards for being a blue ribbon school.
Right.
So another, you're trying to make sense of something, and perhaps you can't make sense of the illogical. I don't know. But what I do know is I need the public to understand this, and we need public support. I think Rick said it very well. I'm not pretending, nor are my colleagues, that we're doing everything perfect, but there's no doubt that we're making steps to be more successful, simply so our kids will be more successful when they leave us. And we have clear evidence to show we're on the right path to do that. What we need to do, and what we need help from the entire community, is to make sure our legislators are aware that this kind of a budget and this kind of a change, and again, it's freezing the amount of money for schools and having the voucher system expand, is not what's right for public education. It's not what is in the best interest of our community, and it's certainly not in the best interest of our kids. What can you do? Do as we've started to do. Write your legislators. Craft a letter saying what you believe. Our 2 representatives are Senator Joe and Nick Milroy, Representative Milroy. They can carry that message to their colleagues down at the state level. Please write them to say what your thoughts are about education. And again, I'm not pretending that we're doing everything perfect, but certainly we don't deserve to be called a failing school with all of the evidence we have that we're certainly thriving and not failing. So again, I would appreciate that help and support in that manner. Any other final things that you want to share about what's happening at your buildings or about your programs?
Well, probably the only thing I'd say is, this school district has done a lot to bring the community into the school. We've sent kids out into the community. I think of our senior project. I think of our career fair. I think we've had a lot of people enter this building and get a look at what's going on with kids, and we've had students placed out in the community. We're going to continue to build on that, and I would just invite anybody who wants to know what is happening here to stop in and to give us a visit and talk to our students and talk to our teachers. I think we're doing a lot of things right, and I think we do have things to work on, and we will do that.
Great, thanks, Kent. Anything else, Rick, that you want to comment?
I'll echo the same thing and would invite anyone to our building as well. And just to feel the climate, to feel the positive energy in the building. Earlier this morning, left a meeting where we had middle and high school teachers working together to make learning even more authentic for students. And that work, that passion, the excitement of the teachers and what that brings back to the classroom is so valuable. So we have great things going on.
Great. And on that positive note, I want to thank everybody for joining us today on the district. If there is another issue, another topic you'd like to know more about, please just contact the board office at 394-8700. Let me know what the topic is, and we'll do a show on that topic. Thanks for joining us today.